Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into something specific out of central Germany. It's called the Stolberger Erklärung.
That's right. It's a joint declaration, came out October 28th, 2025. Basically, the state governments of Saxony-Anhalt and Thuringia laying out their partnership and their demands.
Exactly. And our mission here for you is to really unpack this. We've got the official story, the polished press release version coming out of Stolberg, this spa town.
Sounds nice, doesn't it?
It does. But then we've also got this pretty sharp counter-narrative from our sources, one that basically calls the whole thing political hot air, says it ignores the real economic mess.
Yeah, and that context is key. You really need to grasp this isn't just some routine meeting. It's happening while Germany overall is facing serious economic headwinds.
And it's worse for these two states, right?
Much worse, in some ways. They've got these deep structural issues that have been around for ages. We're talking, people leaving the region that have wandered, especially since the 90s in Saxony-Anhalt. Infrastructure that's crumbling, real challenges.
Okay, right. That sets the stage. So let's get into the declaration itself. What did the state governments, led by Hayesloff and Voigt, actually announce?
Well, the headline message was all about reliable and cooperative relationships, building a strong central Germany. Sounds pretty positive, doesn't it?
Sounds like they're trying to project strength, a united front.
Exactly. And they did outline some specific joint projects. Interestingly, not purely economic ones at first glance.
Like what?
Well, for instance, a joint flood protection plan for the Helm River. That's across state lines.
Okay, that makes sense. That's reacting to those really bad floods they had in the winter of 23-24, right?
Precisely. Learning lessons, they say. They've earmarked about $200,000 over 4 years for it. Then there's cooperation between nature reserves, the Karstlandschaft Südharz, and the Kyffhäuser Park.
Okay. Nature parks, flood defenses.
And also coordinating to keep funding going for the Special Investment Program SI2. That's for cultural stuff, castles, gardens, heritage sites.
Okay, wait a second. If the big goal is economic strength, why lead with flood defenses and cultural funding? Doesn't that kind of feed into what the critics are saying, that they're just managing problems, not actually driving, new economic growth?
That's exactly the question the critics raise. It's a really fair point. Now, the official spin would be, you need stability first, secure the foundations physically, culturally, then you build the economy.
Stabilize what you have before aiming higher.
Something like that. But honestly, the real weight of this declaration isn't what they promise to do together. It's what they demand from the federal government, from Berlin.
Right, the pivot. So after patting each other on the back regionally, they turn to the feds. What's the message there?
It's pretty blunt. They say the current federal help financial relief, investment incentives, it's just not cutting it. Not enough.
So what do they want? More money?
More than just money. They're asking for big structural reforms. Modernize the state and the administration itself. Cut down massively on reporting duties, all the red tape. They're basically saying, look, we can't compete if we're drowning in bureaucracy.
Okay, that's a common complaint. And they mentioned procurement law, too, making it middle stands friendly. Can you break that down for us? What does that mean practically for businesses there?
Sure. The Mittelstand, that's Germany's small and medium-sized businesses, the backbone, really. Right now, big federal contracts often go to huge corporations because the bidding process is just so complicated, so expensive.
Right, smaller guys can't compete with the paperwork.
Exactly. So Saxony-Anhalt and Thuringia want Berlin to change the rules, raise the threshold values for contracts, simplify things, so local companies actually have a shot at winning that federal business. It's about keeping federal money circulating within their region.
Makes sense. And what about the really big hitters? Social security costs, energy prices, those are huge issues everywhere.
Huge. They're demanding Berlin come up with plans fast to stop social security contributions from rising further. Those costs really hurt businesses trying to hire. But at the same time, they also want the systems made sustainable for the future, which is tricky.
Walking a tightrope there.
Definitely. And on energy, they acknowledge the price relief coming in 2026, but they say it's not enough. Berlin has to do more to lower the fundamental costs of the energy transition. Otherwise, their industries just aren't competitive.
And they connect this directly to specific industries, don't they? I think they mentioned the chemical sector.
They did. The Chemistry Agenda 2045. Central Germany has a big chemical industry historically, very energy hungry. If energy costs stay sky high, those companies might just pack up and leave. It's a real threat.
So the justification for all these demands on Berlin comes back to?
It comes back to them being Ostdeutsche Länder, Eastern German states. They argue they still face unique structural disadvantages and demographic change. That persistent population loss, especially in Saxony-Anhalt, is a huge part of this argument.
And because of these disadvantages, they need
More federal money. Specifically, consistent increases in the GRW funding. That's the joint task for the improvement of regional economic structures, the main pipeline for federal cash into struggling regions.
So by teaming up, they're making a stronger case. Our problems are structural, they're not going away, so the federal support needs to be permanent and growing.
That's the official line. A united voice demanding sustained help because of deep-seated issues, including that demographic crisis.
Okay, that really sets up the counter-argument perfectly, because while they're doing this, our sources have this really biting critique, calling the whole thing a CDU Luftnummer im Luftcourt.
Yeah, that phrase, a political air show in a spa town, just drips sarcasm. This critical take basically says the declaration proves that governments are stuck, calls them self-satisfied administrators of the misery. Strong stuff.
Wow. Okay. What's the core contradiction they're pointing to?
It's this massive gap between the upbeat language economic strength and the lived reality for so many people there, which is, of wandering, people leaving, Fachkräftemangel, not enough skilled workers, marode infrastructure, crumbling infrastructure. The critic calls using positive spin in the face of that reality cynical.
So it's not just about the bad economy, it's about the declaration itself being empty.
Pretty much. The argument is there's no substance in the declaration about what the states themselves will do. Like, not one sentence explaining how they plan to create growth or keep jobs there.
No actual plans for industrial policy, no local investment strategies, no answers to the energy prices driving companies away.
According to this critique, no. It's described as politics on autopilot, just demanding things from Berlin.
Which leads to that accusation of being purely in a supplicant role, right? Just asking for handouts.
Exactly. The charge is political emptiness. Instead of showing leadership with their own ideas for, say, education or research or digitalization, things they could influence, they just point the finger at federal bureaucracy or social costs.
And this critique gets really pointed when you look at Saxony-Anhalt's history, doesn't it? The long-term picture, especially that demographic decline we mentioned.
Oh, absolutely. The critic doesn't mince words. They specifically talk about 3 decades of CDU permanent rule without direction in Saxony-Anhalt.
3 decades? That's a long time to be in charge.
It is. And the argument is, despite all that time, the CDU failed to give the state a real economic path forward. No bold industrial strategy, no major structural reforms to maybe stem that tide of people leaving, which started right after reunification.
So instead of action to stop the population loss, what did they get, according to the critics?
The claim is administration, procrastination, and empty slogans. Basically managing the decline rather than fighting it. And this is linked directly to that devastating ongoing population bleed in Saxony-Anhalt since the 1990s. The critics lay the failure to stop that squarely at the feet of this long-term political leadership.
And the results on the ground, what does the source say happens because of this alleged inaction?
The results cited are stark. Betriebsschluss, businesses closing down. Junge Menschen abwandern, young people leaving, taking skills and potential with them. And ganze Regionen verroden, entire areas basically decaying, emptying out.
That's a bleak picture.
It is. And the source argues that after governing for 30 years and still just talking about potentials, well, that's not vision. That's just proof of being stuck in a rut of political standstill.
So the declaration isn't a plan for the future, it's just symbolic politic.
That's the conclusion of the critique. Pure symbolism, no substance. Which brings us right back to that central conflict for you, the listener, to think about.
Right. Are these massive problems, the shrinking population, the economic weakness, just inherited issues that absolutely require more federal cash, like state governments insist?
Or are these problems made worse, perhaps significantly worse, by a lack of bold, independent action at the state level? By decades of, as the critics put it, political standstill, especially under the long CDU leadership in Saxony-Anhalt.
And the fact that the declaration barely mentions things like education, research, digitalization, key areas for future growth.
That silence, for the critics, speaks volumes. It suggests a lack of genuine, locally driven strategy to actually reverse the decline they've presided over.
Okay, so we've dissected this Stolberger Erklärung, seen it presented as the symbol of regional unity and strength.
And also, simultaneously, slammed as a document of Mutlosigkeit, a real lack of courage, almost defeatism.
The big takeaway for you listening has to be understanding this huge gap. The gap between the political talk shop, the aspirational language, and the really deep, grinding economic and demographic problems that central Germany, particularly Saxony-Anhalt, is wrestling with. Problems decades in the making.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. When these states band together, demanding more federal money to fight those structural disadvantages, what's the real function? Is it mostly about locking in the current funding streams, keeping the status quo going? Or is there a real spark here for the new, independent, maybe painful strategies they actually need to finally turn the tide after 30 years of decline?
Because the challenge isn't going away. Central Germany doesn't need more nicely worded declarations from spa towns. It needs hard decisions, real action from its leaders to stop the decay. If this is their vision of a strong central Germany, well, it seems weaker and perhaps more complacent than it realizes. Bis zum nächsten Mal.